Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Bhuttam dhammam sangham namasami. So welcome, everyone. This sutta, once again, I started seeing all the connections. I thought, oh, well, it's a short sutta. We'll get through it quickly. And then there's a lot to discuss about it, how it relates to the entire path. This is like this one particular sutta is like the culmination of the path. So I brought in other suttas that show how this path has developed. And what's really intriguing about this is the relationship to the bojjhangas, the awakening factors, to the boundless qualities, the Brahma Viharas, the divine abodes. So it's like the qualities of our mind. We're abandoning unwholesome qualities and developing the wholesome qualities. So and they all interrelate and interconnect and are mutually supportive. And it might seem daunting because you might have this long list of things. Oh my gosh, it's like this coursework with all these different, classes that I've got to take and Excel in or something like that. But it's not like that at all. It's all developing these qualities of mind that are going to support us, support our minds, help our minds purify and become free. So with that little bit of an introduction, we can go to the sutta screen share. Got it here. So this is a document that I started, but here's the sutta. This is Samyutta Nikaya, or Connected Discourses, number 46. It's in the Bojjhanga Samyutta, and it's number 28. So we're going to Sutta Central. And this is Bhante Sujato's translation. And he's translated this word nibbida bhagya as helping penetration. And you had another translation you liked, Ayya. This is Ayya Niyyānika, and I'm Ayya Suvijjānā for people on YouTube who may not know us.
I'm not pulling up what it was at this moment.
Oh, when you think of it, then you can.
Okay, when I think of it, I'll
Yeah,
go
so
back and I noted it somewhere.
yeah, so penetration, that means it's the wisdom that penetrates, a deep investigation that really pushes us through. It was breakthrough.
Yeah,
Breakthrough was one of it.
that was one of them.
That was one of them. So, mendicants, I will teach you a path that helps penetration. So this penetration, but this is a further than just a breakthrough. We'll see. And what is the path that helps penetration? It's
Conducive to breaking through.
conducive to
That's
breaking
some of my
through.
notes.
Okay, conducive to breaking through.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. It's the 7 awakening factors or enlightenment factors, however you like. Different translators translate it differently. This is the Satta Bojjhanga, elements of awakening, factor of enlightenment, The Anga is like a limb, and Bodhi is awakening. So it's like limbs of a tree, like one tree has all these different limbs to it. The awakening factor of mindfulness, investigation of principles, energy, rapture, tranquility, immersion, and equanimity. So the Sati Sambojjhanga and Dhamma Vijaya Sambojjhanga, Virya Sambojjhanga, Piti Sambojjhanga, Pasadi Sambojjhanga, Samadhi Sambojjhanga, and Upekkha Sambojjhanga. So that's the 7 Upekkha Sambojjhanga. See, it's ellipsed here, but they don't have all of the Pali. And sometimes the Pali helps if you're used to a different translation. It's good to know the Pali. When the Buddha said this, Udaya, the Venerable Udaya, said to him, "Sir, how are the 7 awakening factors developed and cultivated so that they lead to penetration?" It's Udayi. I'm used to Udaya. I guess there's another Udaya. Udayi. It's when a mendicant develops the awakening factor of mindfulness, which relies on seclusion, fading away, cessation, and ripens as letting go. And it's abundant, expansive, limitless, and free of ill will. So we had another sutta that was talking about the awakening factors accompanied by the 4 boundless qualities, the last sutta we looked at. And it was pretty complex sutta. It went into a lot of different permutations. But this one, it doesn't mention the Brahma Viharas, but it's talking about qualities. When you hear a description of what the Brahma Viharas are, they're abundant, expansive, limitless, or immeasurable. These qualities here, Vipalang, vast, extensive, expansive, massive, Mahagatang, enlarged, exalted. Exalted is often the word that you see in English. Apamanam, immeasurable. This is unlimited, limitless, boundless qualities. And then without ill will. This really keys us in, because this is another way of describing metta as free from ill will, friendly. And see, it even has this kindness, benevolence, good-heartedness, harmlessness. So these are all. So what the Buddha is saying here is they're developing the awakening factor of mindfulness, which relies on seclusion, fading away, cessation, ripening as letting go. And it's abundant, expansive, limitless, and free of ill will. So the mindfulness itself has these qualities. It's almost like it's conjoined with it. And then he would have gone through each awakening factor, but it's ellipsed here. And I'm just going to allow for that ellipse because we have a lot of territory to cover with the document I put together. With a mind that has developed the awakening factor of mindfulness, they penetrate and shatter the mass of greed, the mass of hate, the mass of delusion for the first time. A mendicant develops the awakening factor of equanimity, which relies on seclusion, fading away, cessation, and ripens as letting go, and it's abundant, expansive, limitless, and free of ill will. So equanimity is the last in the list of the awakening factor. So this is including all seven, with a mind that has developed the awakening factor of equanimity, they penetrate and shatter the mass of greed. That's like destroying it. It sounds like it's destroying it. Here that I didn't. I think though this really indicates that the greed has been destroyed. The massive hate, the massive delusion for the first time. Or it could be the breakthrough, like you were talking. Are you looking up these words?
I'm trying to look up the Anibida Pupa.
Anibida
Pupa.
Yeah, this is the one.
Not pierced before, unpenetrated before. So I can see why I would say for the first time. So, and he's penetrate and shatter is what he's
Shatter. That's how Bhante
and
Sujata.
shatter is the padaleti at the end.
Shatter.
And nibijiti is the breaks through. So those are the two active verbs. And then this inibita buba. That's a tough word for is that it's not been done before, not been pierced before.
And that's how the seven awakening factors are developed and cultivated as to lead to penetration. And there's this word here, I don't know, either translators didn't pull this one out, but practice often, repeated a lot, done again and again. So to me, this is saying that
Which one are you on now?
bahulikata, practice often, repeated. See if I can. So what I'm thinking is that after again and again they penetrated these unwholesome qualities, they've shattered them. So it's like this practice is to be done again and again until
the shattering.
There's a shattering. Okay, let's see if I can. So I'm going to go back to the document so we can go deeper into this and the relationship of the Bojjhangas and the Brahma Viharas. So we saw there's the awakening factors of mindfulness, investigation of principles, energy, rapture, tranquility, immersion, and equanimity. So this is just an extract I took from that very sutta we were looking at, that a person, he's talking about the monastics, but it could be anyone, develops the awakening factor of mindfulness, which relies on seclusion fading away and cessation, and ripens as letting go, and is abundant, expansive, limitless, and free of ill will. So I pulled this out so we could look at the Pali a little bit. This is Sati Sambhojjhanga. And Sati is a factor not only in the Bojjhangas, it's there's the four foundations of mindfulness. It's in the middle of the spiritual faculties. So it appears repeatedly in different collections of wholesome qualities to develop. And it's the first of the Bojjhangas. And so when the Bojjhangas mature, there's a sequence that happens starting with mindfulness being unremittent, and then the investigation of qualities, and then the energy, and then the piti, the rapture, that all starts to unfold, and then calms down, and to samadhi, and then to upekkha. But the result of all this is awakening. So here we have this, the word that we were looking at, nibbida bhagya, conducive to penetrating insight, is how it's explained. And then I pulled this word vipula because that appears vipalang right here. And then this word virya is the second, no, it's the third bojjhanga, virya. And it's the second spiritual faculty. But here we have these qualities of the fourth aspect. There's four right efforts and four right strivings, and then it's also a description of how virya appears. So we have here this vipulaya. So that's that expansive quality is within the bojjhanga. So I'm just seeing all these interconnections. So virya supports the four right efforts, or virya supports mindfulness, the development of mindfulness. And then it has this quality, and this asamosaya is non-confusion, which is supportive of the wisdom that we're working towards with that's going to result in our awakening. So the non-confusion also supports the sati, the mindfulness. So I just pulled that in just to show how this is a quality that he's describing up here. How the mindfulness is abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will.
It's just so beautiful.
And this is a description of, or it's an extract of one of the suttas too. It's a layman who's a headman of a village, and he's talking about karma and various things. And then once the person has taken on the path, anyone has taken this path on, and gone to a certain level of development on the path, it says, then that noble disciple is rid of desire, rid of ill will, unconfused, aware. This is asamosaya here, aware and mindful. They meditate, spreading a heart full of love to one direction, and to the second, and to the third, and the fourth, in the same way, above, below, across, everywhere, all around. They spread a heart of love to the whole world, abundant, expansive, limitless, free of enmity and ill will. So you see here the connection between mindfulness. We have the sampajano patisato. So this is a aware and mindful. And then this is the standard Pali description of metta bhavana. Metta sahagatena cetasa ekam disam paritawa viharati. So this is these qualities that we saw associated with mindfulness in that the sutta we started with. So here it is. Here's Bhante Bodhi's translation of that sutta. Here, Udai, a bhikkhu develops the enlightenment factor of mindfulness, which is based upon seclusion, dispassion, cessation, maturing and release, which is vast, exalted, measureless, without ill will. With a mind that has developed the enlightened factor of mindfulness, he penetrates and sunders the mass of greed that he has never before penetrated and sundered. He penetrates and sunders the mass of hatred that he's never before penetrated and sundered. He penetrates and sunders the mass of delusion that he has never before penetrated and sundered. So this sounds like it's destroyed to me.
Yeah, but somehow this is the first time the word sundered and shattered feels so uplifting. I kind of have in my mind an anime picture of the, breakthrough.
Yeah, I was thinking about like if you had a ice pick and a block of ice and you're and finally you get into the ice block and it it shatters.
I had the experience with Ayyā out at a hermitage where there was this huge rock, and the rocks they were kind of almost made of clay. They were so
Oh, right.
striated.
Yeah.
And we were trying to get the truck out, and there's this huge rock. And so she rushes back and gets a pickaxe and starts and I was filming it. And so and the moment that rock shattered, there was just this like such uplift that now it was at a size we could start lugging it to the side of the road. But yeah, so I have a completely different heart feel toward these words today.
Yeah, well, the rock was a big obstruction. You couldn't drive past the rock because it was blocking the road. So
Yep.
you had to shatter it to get it out of the way. So so to my mind, I'm thinking this is maybe the Arahant. Well, you first, but it says for the first time, he's never penetrated and sundered before.
It might be the stream winner. It's hard. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but they're talking about shattering greed, hate, and delusion. So if it's completely destroyed, it should be at the level of
Yeah,
arhatship.
that's true. Yeah.
But
We'll just have to keep going and tell you once we, well, get to the other side.
I think that maybe that continuously, like it said, the bahulika, when you're again and again, you're like striking it, striking it with the pick, and finally it gets to a certain point where it's weak enough and it shatters. This is my thought of it. So the stream enterer would be making some headway into penetrating, but not quite to the point where it completely shatters and is destroyed. So I have a clock someplace.
I'll get it. Oh, nope, it's already over here. You already have it.
There it is. Okay. Just keeping track of the time. See, Joseph has joined us. Welcome. So this is the sutta we looked at last week, and so I just took an extract of it. And how, bhikkhus, is the liberation of mind by loving kindness developed? What is its destination, its culmination, its fruit, its final goal? Here, bhikkhus, a bhikkhu develops the enlightenment factor of mindfulness accompanied by loving kindness, the enlightenment factor of equanimity accompanied by loving kindness. So here it's ellipsed, so it's including all seven. Based on seclusion, dispassion, cessation, maturing, and release. So this is almost the inverse of the one we started with. So they're accompanying one another. They're supporting one another, this development of loving kindness. And then the Bojjhangas, all four Brahma Viharas are mentioned in the sutta. So are there any questions? Let me just pause for a minute because we could get deeper into this and how this whole thing develops, or we could pause for a question. Let me close the screen share. So is this confusing or is it helpful so far? Because I don't want to go further if it's starting to get confusing or overwhelming or something like that, or if someone, we have a question. Yes? Okay, is that what the thumbs ups are? So, yeah, so like I was saying, the mindfulness, it's almost like the first of the Brahma Viharas and the first of the awakening factors. We could probably work those two together because of well, all the others are supportive. All the other Bojjhangas are supportive of mindfulness, but the mindfulness is what starts the whole process of when it becomes a factor of awakening rather than for awakening. And the whole awakening process starts is because of the unremitting mindfulness, but we have to abandon the unwholesome qualities first before the wholesome qualities can really take off. And Niyyānika, do you have something you would like to say?
Well, I just love that this mindfulness is using that same unbounded sense, because I know for myself, and I've seen it in many, many other meditators, practitioners, feeling like mindfulness is this narrowing, that I'm honing in on this thing. I'm mindful of reaching, I'm mindful of, and there's a kind of a tightness about this.
And everybody else around you is just not there.
Not there, yes, just, I'm in my very narrow mindful bubble. And then we go to bed that night and we're exhausted. Oh, mindfulness is so exhausting. And this is really mindfulness, expansive, and for me, that warm-hearted quality of metta right there. It's like I could do this all day, and I'm not missing anything. The mindfulness is expansive, inclusive. I'm leaving nothing out, but the tonality of it is energized. The other factors, really start to create this container that's just unbounded. It's transformed my practice, and it's just so much more sustainable.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. That's a good way of considering it too. So we can go back to the document if no one has a question. Okay, carry on. So this is one of my favorite suttas. I have probably about 100 favorite suttas, but this is one of a favorite. So this is a possible pathway developing mindfulness in the exalted states, and this is Dante Bhumi, and this is Sujata's Bhante Sujata's translation. So at a certain point, this is a gradual path, and the person at a certain point has gotten to a point where they can go into seclusion after the training, including sense restraint and moderation in eating and moderation in sleep and keeping their sila well. So here, just this person is gone to a secluded place, and It says, giving up ill will and malevolence. They meditate with a mind could you get
Nope.
rid of ill will, full of sympathy for all living beings, cleansing the mind of ill will. So this is one of the hindrances of 5. So I just wanted to pull this one out in particular. There's Sabapana Bhuta Hita Nukampi. And this is a word for all the compassion for all living beings. Anukampa is a compassion for all breathing beings. And then free from ill will. They've purified the mind from I've got the translation further down below. Yeah.
Okay.
Free from ill will. And that's a description of metta, like I was saying again, and compassion. So we have 2 of the Brahma Viharas. So these actively with a mind rid of ill will, full of sympathy for all living beings, cleansing the mind of ill will. So this would be our virya, or this would be our the virya sambojjhanga, where there's abandoning the unwholesome and developing the wholesome. They give up these 5 hindrances, corruptions of the heart that weaken wisdom. So this is an obstacle to our wisdom, or our knowledge. They meditate, observing an aspect of the body, keen, aware, and mindful, rid of covetousness and displeasure for the world. So this person, this monastic, has abandoned the unwholesome and started cultivating these wholesome qualities of heart, free from ill will, free from cruelty, and then they start developing the for foundations of mindfulness, or establishments, or mindfulness meditations, or anyway, the satipatthana. He's starting to do the satipatthana practice. They meditate, observing an aspect of feeling, and the dhammas, or the principles, is how Bhante Sujato translates it. Mind and principles. Keen, aware, mindful, rid of covetousness and displeasure for the world. So I just wanted to point out that first they start out by really purifying the mind, but also developing qualities of compassion and loving kindness, probably equanimity and altruistic joy too. These are all supportive of the mind being rid of the hindrances. And then they can really deeply develop the satipatthana. This is all for satipatthana. So this is compassionate for the well-being of all breathing beings. Did we find out what hita? We looked at hita.
Yeah, hita is the beneficial, the good,
Oh, right,
bless, the welfare of.
The welfare.
So welfare of is how I would, yeah.
Okay, that's the well-being, or welfare, right? Hitaya. Oh, that's for the benefit. Yeah,
So
that's right.
sthava's all, pana's the breathing, bhutta's the being, hita's the welfare of, and anukampi is the compassion for.
So this is the second of the Brahma Viharas. This is another word for compassion, or karuna. So I have the Jnanamoli's translation here. Venerable Jnanamoli. So this shows more of it. the monastics or anyone resorts to a secluded resting place in a forest and so on, and returns from their alms round. And the monks are just encouraged when they go on alms round to be pervading ahead of them and all around with a heart of loving kindness, of a heart of compassion. They should be, as they go on their alms round, they should be having compassion and metta for all beings. And then after they've come back from their alms round, they sit down, and it's talking again. Here we have the Virya again, abandoning covetousness for the world. They abide with a mind free from covetous, that's greed. So they still haven't sundered and shattered it. There's still greed is still rising, but they're abandoning it. They purify their mind, abandoning ill will and hatred. They abide with a mind free of, this is a temporary, because it's still coming up and they're still setting it aside. They're aware of its arising and putting it aside, and compassionate for all living beings. They purified the mind from ill will and hatred. And then the same thing with abandoning all five hindrances, lethargy and drowsiness, and they're precipient of light. Fully aware, they purify the mind from lethargy, abandoning agitation and worry. They abide unagitated with a mind calmed in themselves, purified of agitation and worry, abandoning uncertainty. This is a doubt. They abide with uncertainty, crossed over, undoubting, about profitable dhammas. They purify the mind from uncertainty. Having abandoned these five hindrances, defilements of the mind that weaken understanding, they abide contemplating the body as a body, ardent. Let's see, I lost my place. Fully aware, mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. So you can see how the Virya Sampojanga and the Sati Sampojanga are supporting one another, and also this development of wholesome qualities is supporting this process. They abide contemplating mind as mind, and this is all the Satipatthanas. They abide contemplating dhammas as dhammas, ardent, fully aware, and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. And in this sutta, all of a sudden they're in the second jhana. I didn't include that, but from here they enter the second jhana. So they're doing the satipatthana. They've abandoned the hindrances, and usually at this point they go into the jhanas. From abandoning the hindrances, the description of a mendicant at the foot of a tree or an empty hut or in a charnel ground or wherever they are in seclusion, and then they abandon the hindrances, and then they go into the four jhanas, and then they awaken. Here, in this description, they've gone into the satipatthanas prior, and it makes perfect sense though that they would be developing the satipatthanas, which supports the development of jhana, the samadhi. So here's Anapanasati Sutta. And how do the four foundations of mindfulness developed and cultivated fulfill the seven enlightenment factors? Bhikkhus, on whatever occasion a bhikkhu abides contemplating the body as a body, ardent, fully aware, and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. On that occasion, unremitting mindfulness is established in them. On that occasion, mindfulness enlightenment factor is aroused in them, and they develop it. And by developing it, it comes to fulfillment in them. So this is how these are related. I mean, it's all a factor for awakening or of awakening. And so then the whole cascade of the 7 awakening factors happen. Abiding, thus mindful, they investigate and examine that state with wisdom and embark upon a full inquiry into it on whatever occasion. Abiding, thus mindful, a bhikkhu investigates and examines this state with wisdom and embarks upon a full inquiry into it. On that occasion, the investigation of states enlightenment factor is aroused in them, and they develop it, and by development, it comes to fulfillment in them. So this is a panya. If you're going to relate this to the 5 spiritual faculties, this is within that category of wisdom, the investigations of states or principles is how Bhante Sujato translates it. And so this leads us to samadhi, because we have the investigation of states, and the virya is aroused, and then the piti is aroused, and the passaddhi is aroused, and then it settles into samadhi. Do you have anything to add or any ideas on this? Okay, so this is a analysis of the path, and this is a description of samadhi. Quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unskillful qualities. One enters and remains in the first absorption, which has rapture. So here's our piti and bliss born of seclusion. And while placing the mind and keeping it connected, And so this is vivecha kamehi. So secluded is one of the things that was in the original sutta. Seclusion was one of the qualities. Seclusion from the senses, the 5 senses, and unwholesome states. We're secluded from those 2. So this is dependent on seclusion. The mindfulness factor awakening factor. All the awakening factors are dependent on seclusion. And then they're stilled. So this would be more like the passaddhi upasama, as placing the mind and keeping it connected or stilled. So this is a vitakka vichara. So the more active aspects of the mind are stilled. So this is the calming of the mind. Further, they enter and remain in the second absorption, which has rapture and bliss born of immersion. So we have the piti still present with internal clarity of mind at one, without placing the mind and keeping it connected. So this is vitakka vichara upasana. So this is the calming of that. And then the fading away, this is a viraga, dependent on fading away. But this is fading away of unwholesome qualities. But even the piti is fading away here, because it's a little bit agitating. It's maybe restless, a little bit on the realm of restlessness. They remain in the third absorption where they meditate with equanimity, mindful and aware. So mindfulness has been here all along. And the reason why someone can enter samadhi is because of a really unremitting mindfulness. And here equanimity is very strong. Equanimous and mindful, these are two of the bojjhangas. One meditates on bliss, in bliss, excuse me. So this is how, in bliss. Sorry, that was a Freudian. This is a Freudian slip. Maybe meditates in bliss. So this is sukha rather than piti. So the piti is calmed down. Although piti is an awakening factor, it is a kind of fuel to do these to awakening. Giving up pleasure and pain at the ending of former happiness and sadness, they enter and remain in the fourth absorption without pleasure and pain, with pure equanimity and mindfulness. So these two have become purified. Sukhasa chapahana, dukasa chapahana, pubewa, somanasa, domanasam, atangama, adukkha, masukam, upeka sati pari sudim. And that's the fourth jhana. So, as I was saying, sati, samadhi, and upeka are three of the 7 awakening factors. Also, piti is there, but it's fading away. And they have become strong in the third jhana and purified and strong in the fourth. So here this translation of upeka sati pari sudim. And upeka is looking on, mental poise, mental balance, equanimity, equipoise, non-reactivity, and composure. And sati pari siddhim, the purity of mindfulness, pure awareness. So these have become fact. Really, if we keep going with this, they're factors of awakening. And here's a very brief extract from the Great 40. Right effort gives rise to right mindfulness. Right mindfulness gives rise to right immersion. Right immersion gives rise to knowledge. That's the panya. Right knowledge gives rise to right freedom. So this is how, this is talking about the Noble Eightfold Path, but you see here, you have the awakening factors right here too. Right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi. And then right knowledge would be within the Dhamma Vicaya, with that investigation of states. This is how I'm taking it. Then it develops to really emancipating knowledge, this knowledge and freedom. But all these things are developing over time. It doesn't happen like bang. Do you have anything to say before?
Before you go to the poems? No?
Okay, keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a discourse on friendliness meditation. This is a Karaniya Metta Sutta. And this is where it's found in the Sutta Nipata. And this is I've got extracts here. This is Kantipalo Mills' translation. And while one stands or walks or sits or lies down, still free from drowsiness, one should be intent on this mindfulness. This is divine abiding here, they say. So this is saying that metta is a form of mindfulness. So we're maintaining or remembering to, and you were going to say something, so go ahead.
Well, I think it's, I mean, I like to equate them, but I think it's also really directing us that mindfulness feels good. And if your mindfulness feels tight, it it's not quite it's not been picked up or applied quite right yet. So, I mean, when mindfulness is this is a divine abiding, that's the quality of the sense of mindfulness that's really wholesome and sustaining.
But in this sutta, they're talking about sustaining the
Yeah.
awareness of metta, standing, walking, sitting, lying down, as long as
Mhm.
one is without torpor, one should be resolved on this mindfulness, the mindfulness
Of the metta.
of the metta,
Mhm.
the recalling this state of loving kindness and being actively developing it. For this, they say, here is the true spiritual life. So that's Venerable Ananda Jyoti's translation. And here I've got a little bit more of the sutta. Bhante Sujato's translation, with love for the whole world, unfold a boundless heart, above, below, all around, unconstricted, without enmity or foe. And then when standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, while unweary, yet unweary, keep this ever in mind. For this, they say, is a divine meditation in this life. So here we have satim. So do you want to?
I was saying sadhu.
Sadhu. So we could chant this part. Me tancha sabalokasmim manasambhavaye aparimanam Udamado chatiryancha asambadam awaram masapatam titancharam nisinoa sayano yavatasa vitaminido etam satim aditya Brahmametam viharam idamadu. So I think we could close the document for now. We've gotten through it miraculously with a few minutes left. And if anyone would like to ask a question or make a comment, or looks like Joseph can unmute yourself if you want to say something.
Thank you, Venerable. I was curious about understanding the difference between intention of cruelty and thoughts of cruelty, because I was wondering if there might be a misperception about the development of loving kindness where one becomes innocent but not wise. So, like, one doesn't even understand cruelty, one can't empathize, one can't relate, and therefore one can't be helpful for others. Does that make sense? Like turning the mind. Sometimes I've heard monks use the term, be wary not to turn your mind into a Disneyland or something like that. So I guess when thoughts of cruelty arise, there's might be a fear of like not understanding how the karma works, how not where is the demerit, right? So if we understand that there is cruelty as an element in the world and we're investigating it, where's the danger? Is it in the intention? It's like when we decide when we want to harm someone, or we just, is it like if we're contemplating a nightmare or if we're contemplating someone else's life experience of cruelty, like say we're reading a book and we're reading about history, like where is the danger in the element of cruelty and how do we cultivate compassion wisely? Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very complex question, but intention is, I mean, my intention it's a karma. So even if I want to kill, so let's say I don't want to, but say I wanted to kill a fly. So my intention was to kill it, but I wasn't successful. It's still harmful karma for us, for me, because I had this thought of hatred and cruelty to wish to kill another living being. So I failed. Well, let's say I did succeed in killing some small creature, an insect or something. So then that compounds it. But let's say that there's an ant in the kitchen and I'm not aware there's some small being in the kitchen and I accidentally kill it. Oh, like running the water or something and I drowned it or something mishap. No intention to kill. Then there's not karma in that mental karma. My mental karma, or I might have tried even rescuing it, but I was not successful. It happened too quickly. Or sometimes even trying to put an insect outside, you accidentally harm it. So your intention is to help, but you accidentally harm another being. You at least terrify it. I try to do it in a way that's less terrifying as possible. But at least you're terrifying the poor being, but your intention is to help it. So that's and other people's, I mean, like if you're kind of delighting in reading some horror story and somebody doing some terrible acts or even history of something terrible and then you're delighting in that, it's just not wholesome mental karma, that's really bad. That's, and then you're kind of callousing, becoming more callous. And then maybe seeing a value in being cruel, like this is a cool thing to do and all this kind of thing. So it's really a negative mental state you're cultivating within yourself, and then you're more likely to do acts of cruelty or verbal or physical acts of cruelty. So as far as karma is concerned, just having a cruel thought isn't as serious as acting out on it. But let's say I'm sitting and because of my past mental habits, a thought of cruelty might arise. And then I'm aware, that's a thought of cruelty, or that's a thought of ill will. And then I say, oh, the this is a quality I don't want in myself. I said, this is a quality I wish to abandon. So I'm aware of it. I'm aware that, or, like, I don't know, like there's this conditioning, especially sadly, the children are playing these video games, say, and they're doing all the blowing things up and, they talk about killing the other beings on the screen, or something like that, and it's supposed to be fun. So then, I don't know, I didn't do those kind of games as I'm growing up, but it may be that's kind of like a conditioning, and ah, and then somebody said that she saw this child and he had a full-size toy like rifle or something. And she said to the boy, they're conditioning you to become a soldier, to go to war. And so there's this conditioning from childhood in our society. I mean, what do they have a virtual, it's not virtual well anymore. They're actually killing people with these
Drones and
drones and things like that. They're operating. I mean, this is just so and then there's this whole disconnect too. So there's this mental conditioning that's going on, and if we're not aware of it, to decondition ourselves is going to take work. So when we see it arising, then we have to be really aware of it. And then that's the whole abandoning that has to take place to purify our minds. So, is this answering your question? Is this
My intent, I think, to clarify my question was the idea what to clarify what is meant by purifying the mind, because there's this perception of this possibility of becoming like a child, like or innocent in the terms of like a flower child, like someone who can't conceive. Like I'll give a literary example. In Lord of the Rings, there's a mythology in Lord of the Rings, the Silmarillion. There's the Dark Lord, who's very cruel, and he has a brother. And the reason why the Dark Lord is able to succeed is because apparently his brother isn't able to conceive of evil. His mind is so pure, he doesn't understand evil. And because he doesn't understand evil, he can't do it. He's not really able to stand up against his brother. And so that's something I'm worried about. When we're purifying the mind, it's almost like there's ignorance that we don't want to blind ourselves to cruelty. We want to be able to cruelty is to be understood, not to be like like I'm trying to find the word. Does that make sense? Is that clarifying
yeah,
my intention?
so yeah, I think what talking about, if there's awareness and understanding, like I see it and I have to be able to see it in myself. If I didn't have it in myself, I would be an arhat. And an arhat is wise, they're not oblivious. And did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, so when we're looking at these things, we're including exploring. What I hear you saying is the difference between a thought thinking it through, understanding it, deeply understanding it, and the intentionality of doing it. And of course, Ayya's talked a lot about the intentionality practice, but it was a complex question. So there is that side about should there be no thoughts in our head of the concept of cruelty? No, when we look at the concept of cruelty, we're supposed to understand its gratification as
Mm.
well as its danger and escape. And the Arahant would understand completely the gratification of why beings are drawn to this behavior. So it's not outside the conceptual awareness of the Arahant. They don't become dumb. They don't become ignorant. They become completely wise. They understand the gratification. Thus, that huge move of compassion the Buddha had. So the compassion emerges because you see the conditionality of these beings who are doing cruel things, who are thinking cruel things, who are bodily, are speaking cruel things. So yeah, you don't develop ignorance, you develop a wisdom of the gratification and therefore the danger as well and the escape.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great.
Sadhu, 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 sadhu. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question or comment? So we can, if you want to stay on for the after party, we can close. Where those who are live can stay on if they care. And if they have anything more personal they'd like to talk about, this is a good time off the YouTube. So we'll close with the homage to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. And if you have an image in your room, you can bow to that. And if you have a not, you can bow to the one that's on the screen here. Araham Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.